What is going on, everyone? Well, the holidays are over. I hope you made it through unscathed. Your training didn't suffer. More importantly, your diet didn't suffer either. But it's now January, and it's now into the new year, and it's time to get back to work. As you can see, I'm back home. I spent a month visiting family and whatnot, so I was out of my element for a month, and I've got to say it's been awesome to be back. It's only been a couple of days, but and I've got a lot of stuff to get kind of put back together here and to get taken care of. But regardless, it's good to be back. It's good to be back in my element, back in my kitchen, back in my gym, getting back into my routine, essentially. So the one thing that I get asked quite a bit, especially around this time of the year regarding, the new year, new me mentality, is abs, abdominal region. And the question usually is, Matt, what's the best abs workout that you can do? And I always have to laugh and respond, the best abs workout that you can do is set the fork down. There's this misconception that all you need to do to have a chiseled, rock-hard midsection is just train the heck out of it. If you do 1,000 sit-ups a day, every day for 6 weeks, before you know it, you're going to be at the beach and everyone is going to be just fascinated with your abdominal region. I guess at the end of the day, that isn't incorrect, because if you train the heck out of your abs, you're going to develop a rock-hard abdominal region. But the problem is there's a difference between developing an abdominal region and then showing that abdominal region. It's twofold. So yes, absolutely, if you want to develop abdominal muscles, you're going to have to train those abdominal muscles. But that's where it stops for most people. They think that if they just train their abs, they're going to show those abs, and that's not always the case. It all depends on your level of body fat. I like to joke that year-round, I do have abs. I do have an abdominal region that's pretty chiseled. The difference between the off-season and the competition season is there a blanket covering those abs? And that blanket is a layer of fat. So the only way you're going to show that abdominal region is to essentially cut your body fat. You need to cut calories. So depending on your body type, endo, meso, or ecto, whether you have an extremely difficult time losing body fat, or you're on the other end of the spectrum where you have a difficult time gaining any weight or muscle mass to all the way in the center where it's balanced, this is what is really going to determine how hard you're going to have to work to show that abdominal region. An ectomorph, a person who has no problem losing weight, no problem dropping body fat, and their problem actually lies in gaining weight, gaining muscle mass, putting on body fat. Most likely an ecto is always showing abdominal region. But then you get into the meso, the middle, or the endomorph, where it's all reversed. They have no problem putting on size and mass, and they have a total problem taking off body fat. So that's where, depending on what your body type is, that's going to determine the amount of work that you're going to have to put in to show that abdominal region. You got to remember too, there's the other complicated side of how much body fat are you carrying. If you're carrying an immense amount of body fat, it's going to take a long time. It's not going to happen overnight. As opposed to my own situation where I don't put on a ton of body fat during the off season, I'll put on some size, but I typically stay fairly lean year round. So for example, for me getting back into competition season, showing my abs does not take long. I typically will show most of my abdominal region during the off season. Another page from my own book, when I weighed 350 pounds and I was playing ball, and I decided to hang that up and move into the competitive bodybuilding, it took a long time for me to get my abdominal region to where I was happy with it, even content with it. It took about 2.5 years. I always had a visible midsection when I first started competing. When you drop 120 pounds, you're gonna carry a visible midsection, but I always had a problem because of the amount of weight I had to carry for the position I was playing. My problem stemmed in my lower abdominal region, and I always had that freaking pooch. It took a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of tears to get that region to where I was finally happy with it, and it took years. Once again, it all depends on the amount of body fat that you're carrying. If you're carrying an immense amount, it's going to be a long, hard road, and if you're not, or you're carrying a reasonable amount of body fat, it won't be as difficult of a journey. So what's the process now? You're training your abdominal region, you've built up a rock hard midsection, now how do you show it? Well, the process is twofold. At least for me it was twofold, because like I said, there's the ecto all the way to the endo. I'm more in the realm of a meso, where it's not difficult for me to either put on mass or to shed body fat. I'm very level there, I'm very balanced there. So to train your abs, it's pretty straightforward. You're gonna wanna do things to train, and I wouldn't really get into anything too in depth, you know, like getting into your obliques or your serratus or things like that. Look, I would just look at it as upper abs and lower abs. One of my favorite lower ab routines is to do leg raises. Either you can do vertical leg raises. They have a machine where you can prop yourself up and you can do leg raises while you're at a vertical position, or you can do what I call bench leg raises, where you're laying on a bench and your lower half is hanging over the end, and you're raising your legs that way, and that will really get an amazing squeeze into your lower abdominal region. The other area is your upper abdominal areas, things like sit-ups. I love like reverse hyperextensions, crunches, anything like that. They have another great machine that kind of targets the entire area. If your gym has one, or if you have one, it's called an ab coaster, where you will sit up and you're holding yourself up in this region, and you're using your legs to rock up and to squeeze into your abdominals. They have a wheel that you can use to get down on your knees, and then use that to rock out, and that'll hit your upper abdominal region pretty awesome. You can do cable crunches. There's all kinds of things that you can do to hit that abdominal region. So now, showing your abs and cardio. The most effective time to do cardio is in the morning upon rising, when you're in a completely fasted state from the night before. You don't have anything in your system, so when you do cardio in the morning in a fasted state, your body is not targeting calories it's consumed, it's targeting your body fat stores. So that's the best time to do that cardio, is right when you get up first thing in the morning. So the second best time to do that cardio is post anaerobic training, right after you finished training with weights. So those are the two most effective times to do cardio. At the end of the day though, if you can't, for whatever reason, do your cardio around those times, it doesn't matter, just do cardio. The most important thing is you don't throw your hands up and say, well, I can't do that, so I'm just not gonna do cardio. Just do it. And then the final piece of the puzzle in terms of showing your abdominal region is making sure that your calories are at an acceptable level for body fat loss. The way you're gonna do that is to make sure that your calories are below your resting caloric threshold. And that's something you can play around with. You know, if you know your resting caloric threshold is at this number and you bump it down a few hundred calories, try that for a couple of weeks, see how that goes. And if you're seeing some progress, great. If you're not seeing a fair amount of progress, then trial and error, bump it down a little bit more. The most important thing though is to give it 2 to 3 weeks. Don't give it 2 days, and because you're not seeing the results you want in 2 days, well, I'm gonna go ahead and bump it down more. And patience, you've gotta give it a few weeks. It's one of those things where you make a change and you give it a few weeks to kind of monitor and observe. Take pictures of yourself in the mirror. You know, here's where I was when I started this. Here's 3 weeks later. That's the best way to see those types of changes. And in terms of finding out your resting caloric threshold, they have calculators for that kind of stuff online. All you got to do is punch it into Google, and you're going to have all kinds of tools at your disposal to figure that out. I've given you some tips on how to build those abdominal muscles, and I've also explained how you're going to show those abdominal muscles: cardiovascular exercise and caloric restriction. So those are going to be the ways to build your abs and then to subsequently show your abs. So I'll keep it relatively short this week. It's once again one of those questions that I get a lot around this time of the year, so I figured I'd address it. So now that I'm back, I'm back in my element, I'm back in my own gym, I'm back in my own kitchen. I'm gonna start doing a few more training videos and some kitchen prep videos now that I'm back in my element. So I hope the holidays went well for you. I hope you're finding it very easy to get back into the normal routines. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, throw it a like. If you have any questions or you want to start a dialogue, please feel free to comment on it. Share it with anybody that you think might benefit from the material, and I'll make it easy on you. I'll put the subscribe button right up here for you so that all you got to do is click on it. And if you're finding value from the channel, subscribe. That way you're notified when new content is uploaded, and you're always up to date on what's going on. So once again, thank you very much, and take care all.